path integral formulation in quantum mechanics. Okay, right. আর লিভ করবার সময় কি করতে হবে? তাহলে সব স্টপ হয়ে যাবে।
ক্লিক করে এখান থেকে স্টপ রেকর্ডিংও করে দেওয়া যায়।
সবাই জয়েন করে গেছে। ওকে, কাদের এটাকে ফুল স্ক্রিন করে দিতে হবে?
স্টুডেন্টদেরটা কি ভিডিওটা অন করবো নাকি?
না না না, যা আছে থাক। ভিডিও ওদের ভিডিও রিভিউ করা হবে। Thank you. So let's start today's lecture. So we have seen in the last class that we wrote down the equation the following equation. This was the equation that we wrote down in the last class, and now we have mentioned that this is the propagator, and this propagator gives us the wave function at the final time tf, at the final position qf, given the wave function at the initial time tr at position qy. So this is the propagator. Today, what we shall do is try to show you that how can one get this equation in the first place? How can one obtain this equation in the first place? So we shall just try to give you a presented derivation of this equation. So let us do it. So we know that the general problem of time evolution is basically obtained by solving the time dependent Schrodinger equation, and the general problem of time evolution can be easily solved once the initial gate. So what is the initial gate here? The initial gate is this thing, psi at pi. So this is the initial gate that we have. So once this initial gate is expanded in the eigenstates of an operator that commutes with the Hamiltonian, we should remember that this Hamiltonian is basically time independent. This does not have any time dependence, explicit time dependence. It is a time independent Hamiltonian. And if there is an operator n hat that commutes with this Hamiltonian, so this is equal to 0, then from quantum mechanics we know that these two operators will have simultaneous eigenstates. And let us denote those eigenstates by the following thing. Let n be the eigenstates of simultaneous eigenstates of these two operators. So when the Hamiltonian acts on this Kn, we get En Kn, and when the operator n hat acts on Kn, we get the eigenvalue n. So now, once we have this thing, we have these eigengates, then what we can do is We also know that these eigengates will satisfy this completeness relation. The eigengates will satisfy this completeness relation, right? Therefore, once we have these eigengates, which are simultaneous eigengates of this operator M hat and this Hamiltonian H hat, because both of these operators commute, then what we can do is we can expand this initial gate in terms of these eigengates. So let us do that. So here, what we have is this is basically identity, and therefore have this. So this is the expansion of the initial gate in terms of the eigengates of this operator M hat, which is also an eigengate of the Hamiltonian. Now, the final gate, which we denote as psi tf, this is related to the initial gate psi ti in the following way. Hamiltonian if and ti psi. Is this okay? So the final gate is related to the initial gate by this relation. Now, let us put in the complete set of states here, these cadence, and if you do that, then you will get e power of minus I by h bar Hamiltonian if okay. So this is the relation that we get over here by putting this identity. But we know that this Kn is an eigenstate of the Hamiltonian also, and it gives you the energy eigenvalue En. Therefore, you can write this as summation over n e to the power of minus I by h bar En Pf minus Pi. Idea. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now, let us take the position representation of this. So, if we take a position representation, Uf psi Tf, but in the previous class we have seen that this is basically equal to psi Qf that is a wave function. So this is basically psi Qf, right? So that is equal to this thing, and this is equal to summation over n. This will be e to the power minus I by h bar n u di, and this will be z Kn. This is n. Okay. So this is the equation that we get after we take a position representation that gives you the final wave function psi Qf Tf, and that is equal to summation over f this times this. Now, we know that m hat acting on Kn is basically nothing but the eigenvalue n times Kn. This is what we know already. Let us take a position representation of this equation. If I take a position representation of this, then that will give us Q, and here we will have a Q. So this gives us m hat Q m, that is equal to eigenvalue m Q m. And let us call this. This is the position representation of this eigenket, right? Let us call this U and V. So this is also U and V. Once we have this, let us come back to this equation, and we can at once see that this is nothing but U M QF. So this is U and QF. And now, from this equation, let me write it down over here. Let us go back to that equation. Therefore, we will have psi QF TF, that is basically equal to what we shall now do is introduce a complete set of states over here at this point. So if we do that, he gets, this was already there. Yes.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, here m cap doesn't act on Q state.
M what? Which one?
M hat, I mean capital M hat doesn't act on the position eigenket, I mean Q.
See, m hat acts, the eigenkets of m hat is this Kn, right?
Okay.
So m hat acting on Kn will give you eigenvalue m and
Yeah,
Kn.
that is.
Okay. Now you are taking a position representation of that equation.
Okay.
Okay. So you are taking a Q, bra Q over here. So this becomes a bra Q. Therefore, we have m hat bra Q. You can take this inside. So this becomes bra Q Kn, and this becomes bra Q Kn.
Okay.
So this I call U and Q. This is the eigenfunction now. This is the eigenfunction of the operator m hat. Okay. So let us go back to
that
the
question.
yes.
So, isn't it true that the form of the wave function psi
Yes.
at time ti and at time tf will be different, right? I mean, they need not be the same.
Yeah. In general, they can be different. Okay.
So, isn't it? It would be better notation if we could use psi prime for the final wave function, right? Because the functional forms are not the same.
No. Here we have not used. See.
Because if we use psi for both of them, it might become confusing because both are psi and the functional form remains the same.
No. It is not confusing because see, wave function is only you have a wave function,
Right.
and when you solve this Schrodinger equation, the wave function becomes psi. You write it. The notation is psi. Only difference is that you have an initial wave function which is defined at some initial time and some position q, and you have the same wave function psi which is defined at some other. The wave function is a function. It is a function.
But they have different functional forms, right?
No, not at all.
If, for example, if psi of qi ti is say some e to the minus qi squared, okay,
Yes.
and psi at qf tf, if it might become qf times e to the power minus qf squared, right?
See, let me just tell you one thing. You have this state psi and
Yeah.
you have q. This is always psi of q. That is what I am saying.
Yes,
So
I agree.
Here, if you take a q prime, this will become q prime. That's it.
I was suggesting a prime rather on psi rather
No,
than.
no, 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 no. You don't need to put a psi prime. You don't need to.
Okay.
This is just basic quantum mechanics. You don't need
Okay.
to put this ket
Sir?
psi, the ket psi denotes the state of the system, right? The ket psi is the state of the system. And
Yes,
that,
yes.
and that we have, this is the state of the system. Just look at this part. This is the state of the system at time ti. So I have put in an argument ti over here. And this is the state of the system ket psi at a different time tf.
Right.
Okay? So here you never put psi prime over here.
Okay.
Okay? This denotes the state of the system at time tf. This denotes the state of the system at time ti. You take a position representation, you get the wave function. Okay, so let me just continue further.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, I have a question. Sir, on previous day you said that we are working on one dimension right now. But if we are working in one dimension, then there shouldn't be summation on M. So, I mean,
This has nothing to do with the space-time dimension. This pattern has nothing to do with the space-time dimension. You recall your harmonic oscillator in one dimension, quantum harmonic oscillator in one dimension. Okay. These ketons are basically the energy eigenkets of the
okay.
quantum harmonic oscillator. This is not the space-time dimension. The space-time
Okay.
dimension is the position. This is one-dimensional. These are the energy eigenkets, which are all simultaneous eigenkets of the operator m hat. Okay.
Okay, now I get it.
This has nothing to do with the space-time dimension. This tells you that we are only having q. So this is one spatial dimension and one time dimension. Okay. So let us come back to this here. Summation over m e to the power of this thing. Now this is UMQF. So let me write it down. UMQF. And what we shall do is, this is Brian. We shall put in a complete set of states here. We shall put dqy, net qy, dot qy, psi ti. So what we have done here, we have inserted a complete set of position eigenkets at this point. This is an identity. And if we do that, we can at once see that we can take this integral outside. So this becomes dqy. This is dqy. We now have a summation over n exponential this. Then we have UMQF and Brian with ket qi. You recall that ket n bra q is UMQ. Now just the reverse, it is ket qi Brian, so it will be U m star qi. So this will become um star qi. And this, your previous question that you asked, whether you should use a different functional form, not at all, because the ket is always psi, and it denotes the state of the system, and it is labeled at a different time. This is the state of the system at time ti, and this is the state of the system at time tf. You take a position representation with qf, you get the wave function at time tf and position qf. Here we have taken the position representation of ket psi at time ti with at the position representation with respect to qy. So this will give you the wave function psi Qi, comma Ti. So this is the initial wave function. If you like, as Saurabh was saying, if you like, you can just put a psi f suffix over here, and you can put an I over here. This is the initial wave function, and this is the final wave function. But this is not. This is just if you have some difficulty in understanding, you can use your own notation. You can just put a suffix f here, and you can put a suffix I over here. If you don't like it, you can remove it. If you like it, you can keep it. So what we have got, you can see now we have got the following result, that let me write down the full thing. What we have got is psi uf f that is equal to dqy summation over n I by h bar Pf minus I. Then we have uf u star and y, and then we have psi y. Yes. Let us compare this result with the result on top, this one. So you can at once see the same structure, psi that is equal to integral over dqy. So you have an integral over dqy. Then you also have psi qy ti. So psi qy ti, and then this k is basically nothing but this full thing from here. So this is your k, the propagator. So let us write down what k is. So now we have justified why we had written this equation in the first lecture. So you can indeed get an equation of this form where this propagator can be identified with this form. So let us write down the form of the propagator. So k uf f y I that is equal to summation over n is what we have times un So this is our propagator. So this is the expression that we have. We can further simplify this thing and bring it to a nice form.
So just one clarification.
Yes, please.
Instead of using a different operator which commutes with Hamiltonian, we can just instead use the states of the Hamiltonian itself, right? That will cause no problem. For m, we used m operator which commutes with the Hamiltonian, right? And we labeled the eigenstates of m as mket. Instead of using a different operator m, we could just use the eigengates of the Hamiltonian itself, isn't it?
Actually, the statement of the problem is the following. The way to solve the time evolution problem using the time-dependent Schrodinger equation, where your Hamiltonian is time-independent, is the following: that if you have an initial ket, and you want to find the final ket, the time evolved ket. So if you have the way you can solve the problem is the following: you just expand the initial ket in terms of eigenkets of an operator which commutes with the Hamiltonian. So if you can,
Why not the Hamiltonian itself?
it is the Hamiltonian.
We can choose the Hamiltonian itself, right?
Yes, you can do it. There is no
Yeah,
harm. We are basically
no problem, right? Yeah, expanding in terms of Hamiltonian only.
yeah, we are expanding in terms of
Yes.
Hamiltonian, and we are these eigengates that you have, these eigengates that
Yeah.
you have discounted,
Yeah.
these are basically nothing but you are absolutely correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was just got a little confused because there was introduction of another operator. So
These are
thank
the
you.
energy eigengates. These are the energy eigengates. Is this okay?
Yes. Yes.
I think this is
Yeah.
fine. So these energy eigengates, these are also eigengates. What I am just saying is that these are also eigengates of this operator M. Nothing else. So this is the thing that we have, and just let me, and therefore you just take a position representation. This U and Q's are basically the energy eigenfunctions, which are also eigenfunctions of this operator M. That is what we are saying. Okay, so let us proceed now. So this is the form of the propagator that we have obtained, and now we just plug in the expression of this Qn Qf and Qn star Qi. Qn Qf, this is basically Fn Qf, and this is this thing. And now what we can do is, this is En, but you can actually take Qf outside and Qi outside and write this as summation over n. You can write this as exponential this with this, and then we have Qi, right? Because H hat acting on Kten will give you En, therefore I have just written H hat in place of En over here. Now, and we have a summation over n. But this is identity. This is identity, and therefore this is basically equal to Qf So this is the result that we had written down in the last class. This you can basically now write it down as Qf, Ef, Y. So we have shown that this propagator K is indeed the overlap Qi Tf, Qf Tf. Regarding Shorov's question, I just want to come back once more. See, why you need this operator M hat you can actually, Shorab is actually correct. You can, these are basically nothing but the energy eigengates, and the position representations are basically the energy eigenfunctions of the Hamiltonian operator. So you can write it down. You can just introduce the eigengates and eigenfunctions of the Hamiltonian is fine. But it may not always be possible to know the eigenfunctions of the Hamiltonian, right? But if you can find an operator m hat, some operator which commutes with the Hamiltonian, then from the theorem of quantum mechanics, from the theorem of this theorem that you have, that two operators which commute with each other have simultaneous eigenstates. So if you can find an operator m hat which commutes with the Hamiltonian, then you are sure that m hat and h hat will have simultaneous eigengates, right? And in that case, if you can find, if it is not possible to obtain the eigengates of the Hamiltonian, but it may be possible to obtain the eigengates of the operator m hat. If you can obtain the eigengates of the operator m hat, then you also know the eigenfunctions of the operator m hat. And if you know that, you are sure that these eigenfunctions that you will have for the operator m hat, they must be eigenfunctions of the Hamiltonian operator also. So that is why you need this operator m hat. I hope now this answers your question.
Yes, sir, yes.
Okay. So now this propagator we have shown in the last class that this was this overlap, but now we have given you we have given a nice derivation where you can indeed see this correspondence once again, that this propagator is indeed equal to this thing, this overlap. So we shall now show, we shall now just, so I will run this portion. We shall now show that for, so let me just say that this TF is T. I just put T in place of TF, and also I put this TI to be some T naught, or you can keep it as TI also. It's not a problem. So this is T naught, and now we have what we shall do is we shall keep this as, we shall call this QF as Q, and this is this QI. You can write it QI TI as well. Okay. What we have done is we have just removed this F notation. So this is a propagator from QI TI to QT, and we have T greater than TI. We keep this Q, this time TI fixed, and also QI to be fixed. So this propagator is therefore, we have just now seen that this expression for this propagator is the following. You can write this down as this, e to the power of minus I by h bar n T minus Ti, and then we have this expression for, this is UNQF, so this is Q N, and this is UN star QI, so this will be N QI. So this is the expression for this propagator. What we are doing is this, we are giving time Ti and Qi to be fixed. And what we shall try to show is the following. We shall try to show that this propagator satisfies the time dependent Schrodinger equation. That is what we intend to show. So
just a quick question.
Yes, please.
So last time around, because we had to fix F, so we had the constraint that T had to be between Ti and Tf, right? To follow causality. Right?
Yes.
Yes. But now, since we have dropped Tf, I have this question that since the propagator can give me how the state of a system evolves forward in time, right? I think this is similar to what Soham asked in the last class.
Yes.
If I change t to minus t in this equation, can I exactly trace back how a quantum system has developed? I mean, it evolved from.
No, this propagator, you see, this propagator always takes you from an initial time to a later time.
So it will not work if I try to go backward. It will give me wrong results.
You should not do it. That is not physical, right?
No. See, the propagator gives me, given a quantum system at time ti,
Yes.
the propagator gives me what will happen 5 seconds, what the quantum system will look like 5 seconds later.
Correct.
So using the same technique, can I trace it back, like what it looked like 5 seconds earlier?
You can do that. Then your this time will be sitting over here, and the 5 seconds later it will be here.
Okay, so okay.
But it must be causal, right? The effect must be after the cause.
Okay. Yeah.
The effect must be after the cause. That is the physical thing.
Okay.
That is the physical principle that you should always keep in your mind. That the propagator takes it from an initial time to a later time. So this must always be satisfied. T must always be greater than Ti. Okay. So let us now look at this equation. Take the propagator, and what we have done is we have just made a change of notation. We have changed Qf to Q and time Tf to T. We have kept this notation fixed, and this and T is greater than Ti, and Qi and Ti are kept fixed. And this propagator, we have just not developed an expression for the propagator. This propagator is just this thing. This is the expression. Let us now take a time derivative of this propagator. This is Q, comma T. So I act this equation with minus I h bar del L T on both sides. So if I do that, what I will get is the following. So I have a minus I h bar over here, and the derivative will pull out a minus I by h bar em. So minus h bar will get cancelled, and you will have minus I and minus I. So that will give you a minus. So we have a minus over here. H bar has cancelled away, and we have En exponential so this is what we have, and then we have times this is what we have.
So shouldn't it be just T minus Ti?
Sorry?
In the right hand side, shouldn't it be just T minus Ti instead of Tf minus Ti?
Sorry, yes. Thank you very much. This is always T. This is always T. This is because there is no Tf over here. Correct. Please correct your thing. This will be T minus Ti. Because this is T. There is no Tf over here. Absolutely. Thank you. So now, so this is the expression for minus I h bar del L T. K acting on K is basically equal to this. Now let us do the following. Let us act with the Hamiltonian on this operator. So if we do that, Hamiltonian is a function of Q. I just keep it like this, denote this thing. To just remind yourself that this acts only on this part, because the Hamiltonian is a differential operator, right? There is a Laplacian there, and that Laplacian. Yes.
Sir, there will be another I by h cut. I mean,
yes, that we have
taken only minus.
That we have simplified. Why? You see, you have a minus I h bar, And del del t will pull out minus I by h bar. H bar will cancel. And minus I and this minus I will give you a minus.
Oh, okay. Yes, sir. Yes.
You can check these things afterwards, okay? So don't worry about these things. You can check all the factors, everything later. But if I make some sign mistakes, please tell me. Right? Like I wrote a TF over here, this will be T. So let us now act A by the Hamiltonian H hat Q. So if I do that, what will happen? So this will act on this part, and this will give us the following. See, this will act on this part because this is H hat Q. So this will not act on this part, on Qi. Rather, it will act only on this part. So you can write this as summation over n exponential minus I by h bar. So take look at this expression.
Sir?
Just a minute. Let me just, yes, please tell me. Yes, please tell me.
Actually, sir, actually H is the minus of the last line.
Huh?
I mean H is the I H का del t, right?
Minus I h bar del t.
So minus of this is H actually.
Sir,
That is what we are trying to show. Please. Let us do it and see what happens.
Okay.
What we have done is we have taken the propagator, we have acted it by this operator, we have got this. Now what we are doing, another thing, we are acting this propagator by this H hat Q. Let's see what happens. So this U and this NQ, this is nothing but this thing. And then you have a N Y. But what is this thing? This is equal to UN, U and Q. This is EN, U and Q. But that is basically QN. I think Shom was saying this. So you have already got it. You can immediately see that H hat acting on K is basically minus of this thing. This is basically equal to, so what we can do is we can make this plus, so this will go. So that is what we have. Therefore, this thing is equal to so we have IH bar del E A Q E. Y comma Ti, that is equal to H hat A. So you can see that the propagator indeed satisfies the time dependent Schrodinger equation that we have proved. I hope this is okay. So we have
Sir,
yes.
isn't this obvious? Because we have the Schrodinger equation that is obviously correct. So we want to take another approach not to evaluate it, but
Right.
it already holds. So
Obviously. But this is a nice consistency check that whatever you are doing is consistent.
yes,
So
that's
this is
fine.
a nice point. You are right that the Schrodinger equation must be there somewhere, and it is here that the propagator satisfies the time-dependent Schrodinger equation. And so you are reassured that whatever you are doing is consistent. It is not
Yes.
something which is inconsistent. We are confident enough that since we have got this result, so we are on the right track. So this is we can consider this as one of the properties of the propagator, that it should satisfy the time-dependent Schrodinger equation. And not only that, we have also developed an expression for the propagator k. This is the expression for the propagator k. Right? Now, let us look at another property of the propagator. Let us set t is equal to ti. Okay? So if we set t is equal to ti, then t is equal to ti. So this factor is gone. And therefore, we have summation. So this is nothing but summation over n this thing. But this I can write it down as q summation over n Fn Rn Qi. But this part is identity. Therefore, this is Q Qi, and this thing is nothing but delta of Q minus Qi. So this is what it should be. So what you are doing is you have two different Qs at the same time, and therefore this must be a delta function. So this is another thing that you have, another thing that the propagator satisfies. Let us look at a third property of the propagator. Let us consider the following integral. What we shall now do is the following. We shall set this to be 0, the initial time to be 0. This is t, and we shall set this to be q prime. So these two things are same. Okay? And we shall take an integral over dq prime. So what we have done, we have set the positions, initial and final position to be the same. We have set the initial time to be 0 and this time t, and we have integrated over all possible q primes. So this function is this integral, this full thing is basically a function of time. Let us call that function g of t. This is some function g of t. So this is basically a space integral of the propagator. You are integrating over all space. Therefore, g of t, just plug in the expression for the propagator over here. This will be dq prime summation over n here. This is t minus 0, so this is t. And then we have a um q, so that will be q prime. So this will be n q prime. Then we have star of q prime. So this will be n prime. Okay, this is what we have. Now this following expression, what we have done is we have substituted the expression for this propagator that we had derived earlier. Now you can bring this factor to this side. So what we have now is we have a prime q prime. So this is now gone. And because this is a number, you can just take it over on this side. And now you see something very nice happens. You can pull out the summation over n. So this becomes e to the power minus I by h bar n e. This is prime. This is kn. And you can take the integral inside dq prime okay. This is what we can do. But this is identity. This thing is identity. Therefore, g of t equal to summation over n en time t time kn. But these are normalized, so therefore this is equal to 1. And therefore equal to, this is equal to summation over n to the power. So we have a nice result for this space integral of this propagator, where these positions are the same. And if you integrate over that position, what you get is a function of time, and that function of time is nothing but summation over n e to the power minus I by h bar, the energy eigenvalues En of the Hamiltonian operator times time t. So this is a very nice property when you integrate the propagator over all space. So you get this thing.
Sir,
Yes.
Sir, in the first line, if I do something like that, that exponential minus of I h hat t by h cross, and I take it outside the m summation, and
Which one?
then
Which one?
at the first line, I
This
just
line.
take out, yes, sir. I just to take the exponential term by writing it like e to the power minus I h bar h hat t, and I take it outside the summation. Then the summation is gone. But what we get instead is minus infinite to plus infinite dq prime inner product of q prime, which is infinite. So if I do it the other way, it is not giving me a result.
Okay, let us do it what you are saying. Let me just do it. What you have said just now. Let me just do it. So this is g of t. So what you are saying is, I can write this as e to the power of, that is possible, Hamiltonian time t, right? And then I have a dq prime.
Yes.
And then we have summation over m.
Hello, sir.
Just a minute.
Sir, you cannot do that actually.
Okay.
H is a function of q prime, so how can you write h outside the integral?
This is an operator. This is an operator. This is a number.
Yeah, but operator of function q operator, q prime operator, right?
But that is an operator. H hat is an operator by itself because it is a function of an operator. This h hat is a function of q hat, not q.
Yes, but here all the q are q prime here.
Yes. See, this is already a, that is what I also mentioned when one of you raised these questions, that when I proved the completeness relation, the same thing was there also. The same thing came there also. See, this h hat is an operator of q hat. Q hat is an operator, but this is a number. This is not an operator. So you can take it outside.
Okay.
That is the same thing that came when you go back to the first lecture, yesterday's lecture, and see when we derived the completeness relation. We had this integral dq ket q bra q is equal to identity, and then we showed that if this is true, then integral dq ket q comma t bra q comma t is also identity. And there we did the same thing. We wrote down qt as e to the power of Hamiltonian times t ket q, and we took the Hamiltonian operator outside the integral.
Yes, sir.
So that is the same thing over here also. And I hope you have seen the last lecture, right? You have got the video lecture also. So this, let us do it. We have sorry, there is no equal to here. Fine. So I've taken this outside dq prime summation over n q prime, and then what do we have?
M ket.
N. Yes, this is what we have.
Sir, now we just change the position and take the q prime outside. I mean, in the bracket, the summation m.
So I write it down over here. Right?
Yes.
That is what
And then take the summation m inside. I mean.
Okay, that I can do. Okay, let me do it. So this will give us what? There is an exponential this thing sitting outside. This is sitting outside. And
Then
and now we have
q prime.
function over n, this is 1. So we have q prime.
Yes, sir. That is a complete, orthonormal basis state. So q prime will be identity, and it will give us infinite result. So the both way it is not working.
This is 1.
Yeah, and that is infinite. That integral is.
No, but this integral is infinite. That is true. But you should remember that there is this thing sitting outside.
Sir, but that is not.
But why is the integral infinite? Isn't q prime delta 0, and delta 0 integral gives you 1 directly, right?
No, this is
The
1.
integral is equal to 1. That is
No,
delta 0.
q prime is 1 here, not delta 0.
No, it is positionally. It is delta 0.
It is not delta q prime. It is not delta q prime that you can get 1 from there.
That is a delta 0.
The
So that
integral is 1.
Yeah, correct.
Sir, the integral is 1.
Why? Why delta 0 is in the integral?
It is a continuous set, right? It is not. It is a
No.
continuous space.
If you take something like q prime inner product, then del q minus q prime, you can take then 1, but not in case of delta 0, because delta 0 not.
No,
See,
not
No.
This is a
not q prime.
Please stop this.
position basis.
Please stop
Shom,
this
you are
argument.
not right.
But please stop this
Why
argument.
I am not right? That is I am asking.
No, Shoham and Saurabh Kant and Jayashree, please stop this argument now. We can discuss it later. This is not a problem. We can always discuss later. But you see, this is true that this expression, this q prime, this is delta 0. So this is a divergent quantity. And you can take it outside, and you have an integral over dq prime, right? And that is from minus infinity to plus infinity, right? This is fine. But here, what we have done is we have placed the things differently, and we have got this result, which tells us that this is not very meaningful because this is a divergent quantity, and here, but there is we should always remember that this is an operator sitting outside now. There is an operator that is sitting outside here. I don't want this expression in this expression gt. You see that this is a propagator, which is a number, and I have integrated over this thing, over this number. So this thing should be a number. This thing in principle should be a number. But the way we are in this way of manipulating things that we have done it here, that shown suggested, we still have an operator hanging around here. But that is not desirable. We don't want any
Sir?
operator to hang around here. We want the entire thing to become a number. That is
Sir?
what is important. Yes.
Sir, K, I mean, the propagator itself is a number,
Yes.
and you integrate in over it d cube prime. Okay. So when you write propagator, how there left side there is an operator. This is already inconsistent in the first place.
This is already inconsistent. We don't want to manipulate the thing in this way.
And also, sir, the propagator itself is from previous class something q prime, then expectation of this into q prime, something like that. So the two are numbers, left hand side and right hand side.
Yes, absolutely.
So you cannot pull the e to the power ih outside the outside the expectation value.
See, there is no expectation value over here, first of all.
No. For the expression of k, I mean, how you write k?
This is K. And
No, the actual expression of k.
who is this speaking?
Sir, I am Arnab.
Okay. Okay. Please, when you just ask, because I don't know all of your names. See, what we have done is we have taken this expression for GT, for the propagator, okay? We have taken this expression for the propagator.
Yeah, but if you, I mean, sir, I have k and I integrate over d cube prime.
Correct.
Okay.
That is
So
what
if you actually write the form of k, then it is a expectation value of e to the power I h cut something, tf minus ti, those things. If actual form of k. So
Okay.
there it's
yes, please carry on.
so there is like something qf. I mean bra qf into e to the power I h cut tf minus ti by h cut into ket qi.
Right,
So you
right.
cannot pull out the e to the power I h operator something to outside the expectation.
That expression and this expression is completely fine. Right?
Yeah, no, I am talking the second approach. That's Soham said.
Let us just look at this thing. Okay, I will. In the last manipulation, I pulled out the Hamiltonian operator outside the integral. Let me not pull it out, but I can always write this expression.
This is fine.
I can always write this expression as this thing. Summation over m, I can always pull it out.
No, sir, your calculation is fine.
Please hang on and just look at this, what I am doing. I am writing this expression. And I can always write this step, right? I can always write this. Is this okay? This you can always write. Is this okay? I think this is fine. Because h hat, when it will act on this m hat, it will give us en. So I can always pull this. I have not pulled this out of the integral. Now
Yes.
yes. Now I can take this over here. This thing I can write it over here, and then I can use the complete set of states dq prime. I'm not pulling this outside the integral. So now you have nothing to complain. H hat time t. Okay? And now what we have is the following. We have this thing and summation over m ket m prime, that is 1. And then
So also a delta 0.
I have not finished writing this. Is this fine? This is what you get after manipulation. Please
Sir, I am not getting, sir, how an operator acts on a scalar. So here is a scalar, so you cannot pull this out, I guess.
No, I'm not pulling it out. But this is delta zero, right?
Yeah, so far it is absolutely fine. Yeah.
So far it is absolutely fine. That is what I want to know from your side. So I'm not pulling this outside.
Yeah.
But see, this expression is a has been arrived at because we have manipulated the things in a different way. But this expression is not useful to us at all. Why should you at all bother about this expression? Don't bother about this
Yes.
expression.
Yeah, that was what I was about to ask in the first place. Why are we bothering about that?
We don't bother about this expression. Soham, you should not bother about doing it in this way because this is not useful at all. Why? Because the propagator is a number, and here you have something which is an operator which acts on some Dirac delta function. This is
Sir, I was trying to say that if I manipulate it in this way, I get something like operator into infinite, which is also an infinite.
no,
So
so that tells you that you don't do it in this way. You should do it. You should do the manipulations in a clever way. This is not a clever way of doing the manipulation because after the end of the calculation, all the manipulations, you see that there is an operator hanging around here, but you don't want any operator to hang around. You want all these things which appear in the right hand side to be numbers. I don't want any operator to hang around. That is the entire philosophy of doing path integral formulation. You should get rid of all the operators that you have.
okay, sir, understood.
This is the philosophy. Keep the philosophy in your mind. What are we trying to do? The philosophy is that we should get rid of the operators.
Okay, sir.
The operator approach, we are forgetting about. This is the advantage, as I mentioned in the previous lecture, that this is the advantage of working with path integrals. In the path integral approach, we don't work with operators. Everything that arise in our expressions, everything all the things that arise in our expressions are numbers, are ordinary C numbers. They commute among each other. We want to get rid of the operators. But here, the way that you have suggested to manipulate the expressions, after manipulating and at the end of the day, you have something which is an operator hanging around here, and I don't want that. You manipulate things in such a way that at the end of the calculation, you only have numbers in your result and no operators. So all these manipulations are correct, but I don't want this. I want the eigenvalue of the Hamiltonian sitting over here rather than the Hamiltonian. That is that was the philosophy. That is why we introduced the energy eigenkets. Otherwise, why shall we introduce the energy eigenkets? That is the whole philosophy of doing the thing. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to derive another result today, but I think it is enough for today because we had a lot of questions also. But what we have shown is that this function g of t is basically nothing but the summation over n e to the power of minus I by h bar emt. Right? So we have some expression for this function g of t, which is basically nothing but a spatial integral over the propagator. So in today's class, the things that we have learned, the summary of today's class is the following. We have developed the expression that we wrote down in the previous lecture for the propagator. We have developed an expression for that propagator. We have a complete expression for the propagator now, and we also have a justification for the equation that we wrote down, the starting equation that we wrote down in the last class. We have a justification for that equation. We have an expression for the propagator, and we have seen that this propagator basically satisfies the time-dependent Schrodinger equation. So it is consistent. Everything should ultimately boil down to Schrodinger equation. So the Schrodinger equation is there inbuilt in your formalism. So propagator satisfies time-dependent Schrodinger equation, and we have also seen that the propagator, if you just make the positions same and integrate, the space integral of this propagator is basically nothing but this expression. So the space integral of the propagator is a function of time, and that function of time is basically this thing. So in the next class, so this is the summary of the results that we have derived today. So we have basically, in short, we have looked at the properties of the propagator. In the next class, we have one more property to look at. What we shall do is we shall take a Fourier transform of this function of t. We shall take a Fourier transform of this function g of t, and see what it is. So this is the thing that we shall do in the next class. And then, after we finish that, then we shall go, we shall proceed further to develop a path integral formulation of the propagator. That is the, these are the things that we shall do in the next class, in the third lecture. So thank you very much.
Sir, today there will be no class. I mean,
Yeah, there is a tutorial mentioned in the schedule today.
No, today there will be nothing else. So
Okay, thank you.
you just, I will send the link for the video lecture, and I would also suggest you that please just mail to the administration if I am unable to send you the link. Have all of you got the first video lecture?
sir, I have sent the link, sir.
Okay, so Shoham has sent it to everyone. So I
So,
will-
yeah, it was a Google Drive link, right? But that asks permission.
so I have given the permission.
Not
Please
accessible.
check it whether you can see it now.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Open it from Google Chrome, it will be fine, I guess.
Okay. So what I will do is I will also send the link of today's lecture to Shoham, and Shoham you can distribute to everyone else. Okay.
Yes,
To all
yes,
your
sir.
friends.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. So thank you very much. I hope you have understood the things today, and you can just go through the steps that we have done in the book, and that will be fine for today's lecture. Okay. So let us finish it here today.